represent. Go, rest in peace.
There we go. All right. Welcome to the ScissorMeNow Podcast. I have Danny in front of me.
How you doing?
Danny, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So it's funny because this is actually the first time that I have met you, and this is through our friend Alex. And when I was going on my travels, like going across the United States, I ran into someone in Austin who, during South by Southwest, I met this crazy dude, and he basically was trying to like stall us for a long time to buy cocaine. And he was just like, no, just keep driving this way, keep driving that way. And it finally got to this point where we just figured it out. We're just like, all right, this dude's essentially just trying to like get us to like buy cocaine. So then like my friend Dominic at the time, he's just like, here, let me call my brother Vinny. He'll come down, he'll pick us up, and like, I'm like, yeah, that sounds fine. He's like, do you need a place to stay? Because my alternative was staying like at a really terrible place, the Budget Inn, over in Runberg.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so yeah, so like
Cocaine Central probably, right?
To methamphetamine Central. So like that if you like Google what's it called? I think if you Google Budget Inn murder, like there's literally articles about like dead bodies that are found like underneath the bed and shit. So it's some real serious shit. And so anyways, Vincent comes down to pick us up, and I just remember my friend that I'd met, the day before, he opens the door and he's like, do you really want to get in the car with a bunch of strangers you don't even know? And I'm just like, dude, I don't even know you. Like, I barely even know you. Like, and then like, he's just, he's drunk. He's not on anything else. He's just drunk. So he slams the fucking door, and then we go to his house, and that's where I ended up staying for South by Southwest. And so then I actually had like a really good experience because of it. And then like, way before that, I talked about it earlier, I was sleeping in the back of my truck, and it was fine during the night because it was cool, but then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd lift the top up and I'd be cooking, until like I woke up.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was tan as fuck. Like I looked like a jungle Asian, straight up. So yeah, ever since I met Dominic, and he was telling me about Holy Ship. Mm-hmm. And this is so Party Cruises had their run for a while. Yeah. And I think Alex joined on a little bit later, mm-hmm. but in the beginning years, I jumped onto this Party Cruise, and I was just like, whoa, like this is real. It's like it's a reality that's really out of this world. Like in the very beginning, because nobody knew like seriously like how big it was gonna be. It kind of seemed like a joke because like festival culture still wasn't oversaturated, mm-hmm. or very like mainstream yet.
When was this? What time frame are we talking about?
2013. In fact, I even have it right here. So okay. Here we go. This was the first one that I fucking jumped on. And so literally with someone that I just met in Austin, I decided, okay, I'm gonna jump on this cruise ship. It's gonna be wild. And it was wild. And the one thing so for the first year, I didn't really take away much, because I was too overwhelmed by the whole experience. But then the second year, I took away a little more, and then by 2015, there's this stupid thing that I did where like I basically like had here I'll show you. So I had my shoes like on my hands like this, mm-hmm. and I was just like walking around in the water, you know what I mean, like asking for whatever, mm-hmm. and I just didn't want to leave my shoes on the beach because I was like, I have pretty nice Jordans, like mm-hmm. I don't want anyone to steal them, but everyone thought this was like a move. You know what I mean? Like this was like some costume or some, but this is literally me not trying to get my shoes like stolen off the beach. So this is like how I became known on the ship. Like I woke up the next morning and it was like a whole viral thing. Like I'd almost completely forgotten about it, and I saw people, like the next day people would walk around and just see me and just be like, you're the shoe guy. And I'd be like, what? What are you talking about? And then they'd just be like, here. And they'd take off their own shoes, put their beer in their shoe, and just be like, it'd be an honor to drink a beer with you. And I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about,
I'm the shoe guy.
And so, like, that's how it all began, and that's how I met Alex, and he told me a lot of great things about you. And, yeah, that's how I've come to meet you. So, obviously you didn't start your trip here at Salons by JC.
No, I didn't.
So how did barbering start for you?
So barbering started for me, I was about 13, 14 years old.
Right.
We're talking about over 20 years ago.
Okay.
I wanted to have my
Keep
own.
rolling. I'm going to make sure this is set up on there.
Okay. I wanted my hair cut all the time. Had no money, didn't know where to go. There's a lady who lived across the street from me, cut hair. So I used to go over there and have her cut my hair for me.
She did a good job? Or
No, she did.
She did a shitty job.
She did, yeah. But it was free.
Right.
It was free, right? And I'm 13, 14. All I wanted to have was short hair,
Right.
right? So after doing that for maybe a couple months.
And this is here in Austin, right?
No, this was here. This was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I'm from.
Okay.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's back up a second. Okay,
Yeah.
so you were out in Michigan doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so you'd mentioned earlier that you had a while where you were in jail for quite some time.
Yeah.
What was the nature of your crime?
Was possession of cocaine with intent to delivery.
So, was this up in Michigan?
This was in Michigan.
Okay. Jesus, I mean, like, how long, like, were you going for a long time before, like, it all finally ended? Or was it pretty sudden in terms of just, like, you grew, and then it just stopped?
Well, it started, I was selling crack when I was 16, 17.
Right.
And then I did a year in jail. And when I got out, I was about 19. And I decided that I was going to sell drugs and on a bigger scale.
On a smarter scale.
Yeah, on a smarter and bigger scale.
So I honestly have to ask, like, being in jail,
Yeah.
did that just make you smarter in terms of your approach about how you're going to go about things? Because you had a year to think about this.
Yeah. I wouldn't say smarter. I would say that it broadened your thinking about it, like your awareness of how to do things or options, availability.
Right. And so, from that point on, you went for it. How did you get the capital?
I started with $125. I started in February 1998 with $125, and in September of 1998, I had made over $25,000.
Wow. So it was a pretty quick transition.
Yeah, pretty quick transition.
And at this time, was barbering even in the picture?
Barbering was not in the picture. It was on the radar as far as it was something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed getting my hair cut and I enjoyed hanging out at the barber shop, but I didn't have the talent. Barbering actually came on the radar a couple years later after I was established selling drugs because I wanted to clean my money up.
Okay, I gotcha. So it was your way to launder the money and
Yeah.
stuff. Which actually, to discuss it, it's a really big problem in our industry. Like, if you look at, like, a lot of nail salons, and it's the perfect place to launder money. I mean, even in Breaking Bad, when Saul Goodman says, hey, like, Jesse, you should buy this nail salon. It's the very first thing he tells him to do, and it's no joke, because there was a while where I was selling cuticle nippers. And, dude, for a month, I don't think I was even speaking English.
Yeah.
I think I was just going around,
Yeah.
literally just being like 1 for 20, 3 for 50, 1 for 30, 3 for 50. So like it was weird in my head. That's how I talked. I was an Asian person speaking like bad English in New York City, making like $200 a day selling cuticle nippers. That's a really weird thing, professionally. I don't know if I could get myself to do the same dignified level of work now. But it's one of those things that's completely overlooked in the industry, is that there is a very big money laundering side to beauty because there's so much cash, like actual cash.
And it's hard to track.
And it's hard to track and it passes through. And, I always tell people that, like, like a lot of these, like, like unisex, like peluquerias and stuff, folks, if you don't know Spanish, peluqueria simply is like a hair salon and stuff. So a lot of these peluquerias, they look poor. They look shitty.
Yep.
But you have no idea how much fucking money runs through that place. You know what I mean?
I worked in one at one time. This is probably about, I've been here since 2011 here in Austin. And around 2013, 2014, I worked in one where the guy kept a box full of cash in his salon under under a like in the office under a cover.
You didn't even have a clever place to put it.
Yeah.
He just kept a fucking box of cash. How much did he keep? Like over 100?
Oh, I mean, stacks of money we're talking about.
Is it a thing in like Hispanic culture where they just don't trust the banks, or like why do they just have so much, you know?
Probably legality issues with themselves.
Interesting, because like Asians, we just don't trust the banks, so we just like keep all this cash. Like that's why like in an Asian household, like if you start going towards the bedroom, no. Yeah, no, they're gonna tell you to get the fuck out, you know. But you're 10 years in jail. What happened? I mean, because obviously
it was actually 15 years. It was actually 15 years sentenced to prison. So the day I got sentenced, I was sentenced from 15 years to 22 years 6 months. This was April 5th, 2001. And then about 2 years into my 15-year prison bit, they abolished the what they call the mandatory minimum drug law in Michigan at the time. So 2003, mandatory minimum drug laws in Michigan were abolished. So what happened was it cut my 15-year sentence down to 10 years.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that happened for a lot of people in jail.
Yeah.
So were you in county jail or state jail?
Well, that's prison. You're in prison.
Okay, so you were in federal?
No, state prison.
State prison? I mean, tell us about state prison in Michigan.
Insane. It is a whole nother world. Insane. I'm 22 years old. Get sentenced to 15 years. Have no idea what to expect. The first day.
Do you even have any regrets, like when you were like processed, where you're just like, all right, this is it. This is my new life.
You have to resign yourself to your new life. That's one thing you learn within probably the first 6 months, a year in prison is the hardest time, because this is the time that you have to learn your new life. This is the time you have to learn how things are going to be different.
Right. I mean, like.
You have to let go of everything that was your past. If you had money if you were a big drug dealer, if you owned businesses when you were home, that means nothing in prison.
So I'm assuming that there's a large Latino population.
Absolutely.
That's in prison. Is that the first thing that you did? Like that you went to go seek their help?
No, they introduce themselves to you.
Okay.
And they'll offer you.
I'll let you roll with this. You tell me how a state prison works when you're in there for 10 years.
Yeah, well, so when you get there, so most of the time you associate yourself with the city that you're from. That's one thing that you can do. So
Okay.
I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right.
So you kind of seek out who's from Grand Rapids. Right?
Okay.
So you identify with people from Grand Rapids, and then you identify with people from your race.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So those are the friends that you'll make first.
Right.
You know, but just because you're Latin, just because you're from Grand Rapids doesn't mean that we're gonna be buddy-buddy either. But it's just that's available to you.
Sure, and there's also huge motherfuckers in prison too.
Absolutely, and
So-
I've had some issues with them.
That's what I mean is like, did butt rape ever just cross your mind?
Oh yeah, for
All the
sure.
time,
It's a
right?
reality. Not all the time, but it's there.
How do you avoid, I mean, it's like, how do you like avoid butt rape?
Well, so when you're doing more than 7 years in prison, you're in a high security prison. It's called level 4.
Okay.
So there's 5 levels in Michigan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
5 is what they call the hole. So in the hole, it's solitary confinement, max.
Isn't that crazy to think that like the worst thing that we can do to people is just isolate them?
It is.
That's the ultimate punishment?
Aaron, you ought to see some of these guys after they've been in the hole for a year and they come out, they look fucked up.
Really?
Yeah, because you have like a funhouse mirror and it's only maybe like a headshot. So all you can see is your head. You can't see your body, right? So, but it's like a funhouse, right? It's like wavy.
Right.
So you don't have an accurate, mirror of how you don't know how you look. So these guys, they don't shave, they don't get their hair cut, they don't exercise,
God.
right?
They turn into some fucking castaway fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't, there's nobody to talk to. They don't have a TV, right? How fucked up you gonna be?
So
You don't know what the day is,
Jesus. So did you have friends that, I mean, because I'm assuming that there's, did you ever see prison riots go down?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right.
I did.
Yeah, talk about a prison riot, man. It sounds like every single one of them that I've heard.
So off the
insane.
Off the top of my head, I remember 2 prison riots. One happened when I was in level 4, which is a high security, and one happened when I was in level 2, which is a medium security. Both times, whenever there's a riot in prison, there's an emergency siren that goes off. And then what they try to do is isolate all the prisoners, send them back to their rooms, they lock you in. Right? You can't be hanging out outside of the room.
Sure, if they can get it done that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, right? In level 4 prison, when that happened, the prisoners rioted right there in the yard, and they refused to go in and fought the prison guards.
Where were you in all this?
I was in my room at the time. It was during breakfast, and I didn't go to breakfast that morning. So you go to breakfast by the unit, according to the unit that you're in. My unit didn't go to breakfast yet.
Oh wow.
So we were still in our rooms.
Okay. So are there people that, like, for example, like go from like level 4 and then like they'll like do something really crazy in the prison riot and jump up to level 5?
Yeah.
So did you know people that started off in 4 and then went to 5 and then saw them when they came out?
Yeah.
So what was their transformation like?
Fucked up.
Like,
antisocial.
Different person?
Depends how long they were away for. Depends how bitter. Depends how they dealt with it.
So they're not even allowed. Are they even allowed pencils to draw? Or like
yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so they can save themselves a little bit like through like that.
Great artists too, by the way, in prison. Some of the best artists I've ever seen. Ingenuity like crazy in prison. Tattoo guns out of a Walkman.
Wait, what? Wait, say that part. Wait, what?
People make tattoo guns out of cassettes, Walkman cassette players.
Yeah. Oh, because they get like like prison tattoos.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Dispel a myth for me, because I've heard. So I have my own retarded jail stories.
Yeah.
But when I was in jail, it was for like a really shitty misdemeanor crime. Like I went to this grocery store when I was like really. This is actually how like I started my company. So like I went to a grocery store really drunk, and I tried to steal a salami. Mm-hmm. And on the way out, like there was like champagne. So I was just like, I might as well take that too.
Yeah.
So I take it, and then the guy's just like the person, he's just like, well, I got you now, motherfucker. And I was just like, oh shit. So like I immediately like toss the bottle of champagne, it shatters.
Yeah.
And like I'm ready to make a dashboard, so I have my keys in my hands, and I'm not moving too well at this point. So he gets me and he like tackles me to the ground, and the rest of like everyone who's working the overnight shift, they pig pile me. I can't move. I can't fucking move, and I've got this like salami like in my pocket. And I eventually, I go to jail, and one of the things I did notice was, like you said, people from their cities and people of race, because I went to county jail.
Yeah.
Right? King County.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I heard, I didn't know if it was necessarily true, but for a lot of the people that were spending hardcore time...
Prison's better than jail?
Well, they were in the Latino community. Uh-huh. It was gay for the stay.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Is this true? For some of them?
For some of them.
Not for all of them, but for some of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For some of them, yes, definitely.
All right.
We would talk about that. We would talk about how some of these guys would go on visits with their girlfriend, and she's got no idea that he's got another girlfriend here.
Right. I guess, folks, for those of you that don't understand what we're talking about, and like you're actually normal and not fucked up in the head like we are, do you want to explain it, or do you want me to tell them what gay for the stay is?
So I think Aaron's talking about some of these guys, and they come to prison, they think it's okay to have sex with another man, and
then once they're out,
they go straight.
Exactly. And it's kind of like once they're out of prison, don't fucking bring it up.
And there's another thing in prison where they'll say they're not gay if they're not catching. That's only, or if they're pitching, they're not gay. It's only if they're catching, they're gay.
Exactly. And it's something that I heard, and I was just like, wow, I wonder if that's really true. So here we go, actually like confirmed. Yeah. So I guess like when you went through like years like 1 through 5, like were there any one-on-one violent situations that you had to like go through to protect yourself?
So I was blessed to never have gotten into a fight.
Oh, thank God.
Prison. Blessed.
Thank God.
So a couple of things that I'm proud of when I was in prison is that I never got into a fight, but then I never got hoed. I never got punked in prison either, right? Because you have to walk a line.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because like if you get like publicly like shamed in prison, yeah, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So like, what's an example of being hoed?
Maybe you're walking down the hallway and somebody bumps into you, or I'll give you an example, perfect example right here, and this will tie into another story.
God, all right.
So maybe 1 month in prison, 2 months in prison.
Sure.
We were, we didn't go to the cafeteria, they would bring the food in carts into the unit, okay? This is high security prison, right? So I come out for lunch, and there was an older guy there that I had been seeing in the gym. We had been playing basketball. So to go play basketball, you have to fill out a kite, you have to send this in, they approve you, and you get 1 hour to go to play basketball.
Okay.
In a gym with carpet on it, right? And
in a gym with carpet?
In a gym with carpet. It's a carpet floor, right? It's a full court, but I think you can only play half court because we only played half court. And they only let enough people to play, like say 10 or 12 people, right? So then you play 4-on-4 and you got like, so many people waiting, right? Now, this guy, I would see him at the basketball at the gym. We would talk. So he was always cracking jokes to me, and I didn't understand what was really going on. But one day we went to eat chow, they call it.
Yeah.
And he was waiting behind for me, and he said, "Hey, save me a spot for dinner. I want to talk to you about something."
Oh shit.
And I said, "What?" He said, "Tell me now." He said, "Well, I'll wait for dinner." So lunch came and went, and then I seen him for dinner. I didn't save him a spot, and he walked by. And he said, I thought you were gonna save me a spot. I said, no. I said, I can't. Whatever. We didn't have time. I'm hungry. And so I go back to my room, and a guy walks by, what they call a porter, and a porter is like a janitor.
Right.
So the porter comes by and he slides a folded piece of paper underneath the door. Underneath the door, you got like a small space where you can slide things under, and that's what we do a lot in prison. We slide stuff
That's
underneath
how you
the
guys
door.
communicate.
Yeah. So he slid this piece of paper underneath the door. He said, "This is from blah blah blah." And so I knew what he was talking about, so I grabbed the paper, I opened it up, and I couldn't believe that it said, "Hey, don't think I'm weird, but I feel a certain way about you, and I was wondering if it's okay if we hang out." And we're talking about, I'm probably 23 years old, and this is probably late 40, mid 40-year-old man.
Oh my god.
Had been in prison for probably 15, 20 years. I had no idea.
Is this like one of the like realest dilemmas?
So this is like a defining moment.
Oh my god.
So
Fuck.
the next day I come down to lunch again, and he's there again waiting on me. And he's like, "Hey, did you get my letter?" Right? And there's really nobody in the line except for us because we're at the end.
Sure.
Right? So now I say within myself, I say, well, what do I do? Right? You can't be passive. Right? Because what's going to happen? Now you're going to be somebody's bitch, right?
Right,
That's just
yeah.
what it is, right? And you can't be too aggressive because guess what? Then you might get stabbed.
And you've seen that happen.
That's the dilemma. Yeah, that happens.
Oh,
so
wow.
you have to try to be assertive.
What a fine line.
Yeah, it really is.
Like getting fucked in the ass or getting stabbed.
Yeah, getting fucked or getting fucked.
Yeah.
Right?
God damn. Okay, so what'd you do?
So I told him in the best way I could, I said, "Hey, listen, I don't play that. I'm not like that. Let's just leave it there." You have to look him dead in his face, and then you have to tell him sincerely, "I'm not with that. That's not who I am," and then you keep it moving. There's nothing else to talk about.
And he completely respected it.
Yeah, and okay.
Oh, thank
That's
God,
a
dude.
lie.
Thank God. I'm so glad that happened.
And that was a relief.
Oh, thank God. But then also during that time, did you have friends, like, did you have a crew that you could, like, safely go talk to? And...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because you seem you seem very amicable.
Yeah.
In terms of...
Almost too amicable. That could get you in trouble in prison.
Yes, definitely. But you seem amicable enough and also savvy enough to be able to just hold your own ground in prison. So,
Yeah.
in some respects, like, a lot of the stuff that you're telling me, like, I would be worried about a certain person to a certain extent.
Mhm.
But with you, I'm really not worried. It seems like you navigated your way through jail. I mean, it sounds like you saw a lot of horrific shit. But it sounds like you were able to navigate, your years pretty well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, years 1 through 5, I guess that was one of your defining moments. And then when you get to the back end of, like, years 5 through 10...
You're coasting. You count down.
Really?
Yeah, you say...
So the challenges they become much less.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah, you know, the initial years, year 1, year 2, you have to let go of who you were. You have to let go of your friends. You have to let go of your family. You would see guys on the so there's payphones still in prison, but you don't deposit money in them. You know, you call collect, or you put money on your books, and then you use that to, you know, it's credit, and then you call home, you talk to your friends. Anybody you need to talk to, you have to put them on a list, and they have to get approved. There's a whole approval process. It takes a while, but you would see guys every day, all day, on the phone, crying to their girlfriend, how come you don't come see me? You know, Mom, send me money. You know, these are grown men. Right?
Is it kind of weird to see that? Like,
Absolutely,
for like,
yeah.
for like over a decade?
Yeah.
Essentially, like, I guess, like, did it change your perception of who you wanted to be? You know what I mean? After seeing, like, so many men, like, because you're still a young, impressionable man at this point.
Yeah.
You know, so did it change your opinion to see, like, grown men like this? And just realize that, I don't know if I want to become like this, you know?
Well, you internalize a lot of it, right? You can't let it be seen on your face, right? You can't show this emotion on your face,
That's
right?
true, you can't break.
So you see what you see, and nothing surprises you. You know, you just kind of, you soak it in, you internalize it, and then you go play basketball, you go to work, you do what you do, and you go about your day-to-day life. You just try to make it. Routine is what saves you in prison.
I can see that. All right, so I feel like even like in the prison society, you know, it's funny. So I just got done with a case myself, and it's just a known fact. You know, everybody knows that the U.S. prison system, it's not meant to be rehabilitative.
Yeah, it's corrections.
Right. It's very much, if not, it's very much meant to be like punitive. You know, it's like a form of its own punishment.
Privatized too now, the prisons.
Yeah, and that was a big deal out in Arizona. You know, when they had Joe Arapio down there.
Yep.
You know who I'm talking about?
The guy with everybody had to wear pink because of him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the feds finally came down and just booted him out because they were just like, you are a crazy motherfucker. Because I think he had to pay back like $190 million in lawsuits for just wrongfully, and that's why Arizona has this crazy privatized jail system. They were the first ones, and it's because of Joe, who really sort of like laid down the hammer on that. So it was a pretty bad scene. I mean, if you were Hispanic down there, like the youth hostel I was staying at when I was road tripping the country, and you know, I was doing scissor work out in Phoenix and Scottsdale. I had this Mexican group. They came through, and they were from Mexico, and they were out there protesting, you know, the sheriff, and you know, like for them to like not have these like random like, you know, where like police would just like pull over people, like ask for their green card and immediately deport them. And some people would just get lost in the privatized system.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really big deal down in Arizona. New Mexico, not so much. Not at all, really.
Huh.
It's very strange. Because you get California, right? And then you're starting to drive out and you get to Indio, and then you cross over to Arizona. It's beautiful. And then once you get into Phoenix, and Phoenix is a strange place because so many people move there, right?
Yep.
And their whole culture, I mean, there's a strong arts culture. They do a lot of flamenco. It's actually kind of bizarre. And Scottsdale, you just have your retirees, and it's a very, if you're old and you're rich, it's a good place to retire.
Yeah.
You know, dust storms here and there, but like if you are Hispanic, you live a troubled life. It's not very easy to live in Arizona. So it's a much different, it's a much different world down there. So yeah, when you got out in year 10, like as the days got like closer and closer and closer, what was it like to finally have your freedom back? Or like knowing that you were gonna have it?
Anxiety.
Yeah, I imagine that would be...
Anxiety.
So yeah.
Aaron, you know, after 10 years in prison, so when you get close to coming home, maybe 90 days, maybe 4 months before you come home, they ship you to a place they call re-entry.
Right.
So what it is, they move you from the prison that you were at to a prison, a re-entry program. It's like a wing in a building, and everybody in that wing is going home soon. That way they kind of keep you out of the, I guess you want to call it general population. Where,
Gen Pop.
So you're not walking around like, hey, motherfucker, I go home at 3 days.
Or just people that know that you're gonna go home in 30
Yeah,
days, so they're just
right.
gonna figure, all right, I'm gonna try one last attempt to butt fuck this dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like something maybe like, hey, what you gonna do with that stuff when you leave? Let me get your TV. Let me get your typewriter. You know, stuff like
Right.
that.
What was the wildest thing that someone had in prison, like where you were?
What do you mean wildest thing?
Like, I mean, people had TVs. Like, did anyone have like a camcorder? Did anyone have?
Oh, no, you can't get a camcorder.
Or did anyone have a credit card? Or did anyone have anything wild? Or?
Yeah, you may see some people with a cell phone smuggled in or something like that. You know, maybe some drugs or something like that here and there. But you know, things like TVs and typewriters, those are all, you can buy those things. Electronic typewriter, 12-inch I think color TV.
Yeah.
You know.
How were the prison guards there? Like, what was their attitude at level 4?
Some of them are, you know, as you can imagine, some of them are assholes, and some of them are okay.
Like assholes in the way that they're like very like corrupt, or like just they're just kind of like assholes, straight up.
Can be both. Can be both. Some can be corrupt. I mean, there's rumors about some of the prison guards that worked in a level 4 facility where I was at that they killed some people in the hole, right?
Whoa.
Because you're solitary confinement, right? Racist, you know, all these things. I mean, you know, who knows if it's true or not, but those are just rumors that go around.
Yeah, but no, even if it is a rumor, that is a pretty scary intimidation factor.
Hey, definitely, yeah, definitely.
Wow.
So when I say asshole, I mean things like very nitpicky, right? Like there's tons of rules in prison, right? But some of the pettier rules we're talking about, like things like having your T-shirt tucked in or having your bed made, right?
That's a rule.
Those are rules. Yeah.
Having your T-shirt tucked
Yeah,
in.
absolutely, right. Right. So you might be walking down the walk one day or down the hallway, and then COs, what they call them in prison, correction officers, COs, and CO Johnson might say, "Hey," and he calls you by your prison number. You know.
Oh, so no name, just number.
If he knows your name,
Oh, okay.
but your prison number is on your clothes. So
Right.
when you're walking away, it's on your back. So you may be prisoner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So he calls your number out. Hey, prisoner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, come here. Why don't you have your T-shirt tucked in? I forgot. Give me your ID. And then they write a ticket. So what they call a ticket is a rule infraction.
Right. And
And then you get punished for that. You can have maybe one day where you can't leave your room or something like that, depending on the severity of the rule you broke. Right?
were you a pretty good inmate when it really came down to it?
I was.
Okay,
I was.
yeah.
I didn't break too many rules. I had jobs, you know.
You weren't trying to run any games.
Nah.
Wait, hold on.
Not games like that. No,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Okay, so you get out and you're in Michigan now. So what comes next?
No. I got out and I came to Austin, Texas. The day I got out, I caught a flight.
Holy shit,
April
dude.
5th, 2011.
That's a trippy thing.
It was. I tell you what. The day I got out, I was the prison took me to a couple prison guards took me and dropped me off at the airport. All right. So the prison I was at was in Ionia, Michigan, which is maybe 45 minutes away from Grand Rapids, where the airport is. Gerald R. Ford Airport International.
Right.
So they took me to the airport, they dropped me off, and you know, they made some slick comments, you know, you'll be back to prison. That's the type of stuff they do. You know? Hey, did you learn your lesson? Alright, make sure you keep your nose clean, boy, or we'll see you back again. Ha ha ha. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
When I got to the airport, one of my friends that I hadn't seen for my entire stay in prison was there, met me and brought some food. Right, so I got to hang out with him for a while as I was waiting for my flight. In the airport bathroom, had not seen the motion sensor to wash my hands, right? So I was in the bathroom, used the urinal, turned around, was standing in front of the sink, didn't see how to turn the faucet. You know, there's no faucet to turn on and off or whatever.
Oh, that's right, because
it's motion, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I stood there for a minute, and I seen that there was somebody else at the urinal, and I kind of wanted to wait until he got done, right? But I didn't want to make it obvious, right? So so he got done using the urinal. He came over and I seen him go like this, and the water, you know, came out. So I tried to do what he was doing, but it was like cutting on and off, like shh, shh, shh. And finally, I figured it out, right?
All right. Well, no, I forgot about that. A lot of things happen in 10 years.
Yeah.
So what year did you get out?
2011, April 5.
2011. Okay, so we had iPhones then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think we did.
We just started getting iPhones, because in 2007 we had the Motorola Razors. Actually, you know what it was? BlackBerry and the fucking BlackBerry Curve. That's what everyone was still like kind of stuck on for a little bit, and then I remember, Google tried to come out with their iPhones just started coming out. So I don't know if you had a phone back then.
I did.
Did you have an iPhone?
I didn't. Somebody gave me a. I forget what kind of phone. Some kind of Motorola.
All right.
Yeah.
So you get, that's very interesting, because like I used to have a severe addiction to heroin.
Yeah.
And the only way that like I could get out of it was by taking a one-way ticket to New York City. So I had to leave.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know like if it was like the same way in your case where, to stay out of trouble, leaving was the best option for you. I almost imagine it might be.
It was, but that wasn't the reason I came here. The reason I came here was my mother was my safe haven, and she was where I was to parole to. So when you get out of prison, you have to have somewhere you can parole to. If you don't, they place you in like community housing.
Oh God.
Right. So that is potentially a problem right there. You're with other prisoners, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, you know how that goes, right? So I had a chance to parole here with my mom in Austin. So that was just the best thing I could do.
All right, so you got here, and then how did barbering come to mind? Or how did hair come to mind?
So I was a barber my entire time in prison. So I had started school before. So while I was selling drugs, while I was selling coke, I started school. And
now, were you just selling like locally, or were you selling within the industry?
When you say within the industry, what do you mean?
To other barbers, other stylists, like...
No. So I wasn't a barber yet at that point.
Oh, okay.
I was just selling drugs, right?
I gotcha.
But what I did was I was in school for it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So in the big picture, what was going on was I was selling drugs, and I was like, you know what? I want to open up a barber shop, because I think that'd be a way that I can have a record, because I had already did a year in jail for selling drugs,
sure.
right? So I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but a barber shop would be something I can launder my money, have a legit business, and I can hire barbers to work for me, and then I can learn from them. That was my thinking.
Okay, yeah, when you were
right?
you were a young man.
Yeah, I was 21, whatever, 22 at the time.
And honestly, there's been a lot of people who've been successful that way.
Sure.
So that's not a crazy idea.
Sure.
Not even close. Yeah.
So I was in school, cosmetology, barber school, all that stuff, and then that's when I got popped, and I went to prison, and when they do orientation, they ask you what type of job do you want to do. You want to work in the library? Do you want to work in the kitchen? Do you want to be a porter? All those things. And I said, well, they were looking through my files, and I said, yeah, I was in school to do hair. And they said, would you like to be the prison barber? And I said, sure.
Fuck yeah.
Yep. So probably 6 months after I was in prison, I got a job as a prison barber.
Right. I imagine that commands a lot of respect.
It does, and that's probably what saved me a lot of times in prison. That I'm a good athlete, so they respect people that are good athletes. It's like high school, right? If you're a good jock, right? People like you, right? So I'm a good athlete, and I cut everybody's hair.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, how could you have a bad rep? You know what I mean? Like if you cut hair, you know what I mean?
If you suck at it.
If you suck at it, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah, if you suck at it, the worst thing is here in the free world, if I cut somebody's hair here at Salon by JC and they don't like it, they leave, they talk bad about me, we never see each other again.
True.
If I cut your hair in prison, there's 1,200 people here, right? I can't get away from you, and everybody's gonna know I fucked you up.
God.
Bad news.
So you were only in school for a year, but did you have the skills to be able to just do this right? I mean, what shears do they give you? Or is it just clipper?
In high security prison, they don't give you shears.
Because that's right. You just stab someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in medium security prison, they let you get shears, but you have to ask the officer to unlock them for you. So they have them like in a cabinet.
Right.
And then you have to get them unlocked, and you can use them. When you're done, you have to give them back. When you're in low security prison, the shears are there for you to use.
Okay, so you were just doing like the fade game.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you do. Yeah.
Fade life.
Pick up and then with the clipper, you cut like that.
Yeah.
Clipper over finger.
Yeah, or clipper over comb.
Yeah.
Not even comb.
Yeah, comb.
Okay. I was just like, damn. All right, so you come down to Austin and you get down here and you finally have the safe haven.
Yeah.
that it's a good situation essentially.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, how does your hair career start from here?
So I got out and I said, you know what? I don't have a license, but I know how to cut hair. So what am I gonna do? Because I didn't finish school when I was in Michigan. I was only in school. I hadn't finished.
Right.
So then what I had to do was shop around some of the schools in the area and see if they would take my hours that I had. But the thing was that the hours were from 10 years ago. So
God, yeah.
So many schools said, no, it's too late. It's 10 years ago, we don't take it anymore. There's a limit to it.
Right.
But then another school told me that's not true. And they said, we'll take them as long as you can get your transcripts.
Right.
So then there was a problem trying to get transcripts because the school that I had went to back home in Michigan was burnt down as part of his insurance fraud.
Oh my God.
So,
wow.
But they had reported the hours before that happened. So I was able to get a hold of somebody in Lansing, and I had to send some money for my transcripts. They sent them out, and I was able to move forward.
How much money did you pay to go to school at this time? And this is in 2011, right?
Yeah.
So how much money were you paying to go to? And I'm assuming you're going specifically for barbering school.
Yeah. Well, this was actually a grant. So kudos to the state of Michigan at the time. If you were, I owed child support.
Yeah.
So if you owed child support, they had some kind of program where they would send you through a trade school.
Right.
And barber cosmetology school was one of them. So I looked to see if this particular school that was near my house was eligible to be part of the program, and it was. So I went. I actually went for free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because especially I talked to one of my stylists who, she went to school 10 years ago, and her tuition was in between like $10,000 to $15,000, and just finally now, like where she's like sitting in the industry, she sits I'm not going to name the company specifically, but like one of the bigger companies, she's a national like color educator, right? And 10 years later, like 99% of the industry won't even get to where she is, and she just finished paying off her school loans. And I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy. In terms of like how we all know that like when you go to school, there's not even a guarantee, like regular college and stuff, there's not a guaranteed job out there for you. I guess what makes hair a little bit more beneficial is, yeah, there is work for you out here. It just depends on how you go about it. But it's really crazy to see so many people enslaved by, student debt. So it's very cool that you didn't have to go through that experience.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
Yeah. So, what was your first job?
So my first job when I got out of prison, I was out of prison for 3 weeks, and had to find a job, walk into a thrift store.
What?
I walked into a thrift store. I had no idea what clothes were. I didn't know what was the style, right? You've been gone 10 years.
Oh, God, yeah. I keep forgetting. All right.
So I'm like, well, shit, I don't have money. I don't know what the hell people are wearing. I was wearing like shorts and white t-shirts. That's all I knew, right? And like Reebok Classics. That's all I had, right? So I'm like, okay.
Oh, man.
So I gotta develop a style, right? I don't know, like Austin, Texas. I got no idea what's going on, right? I go into a thrift store. I had like $20, right? My mom probably gave me $20. Here I am, a 37-year-old man, right?
Yeah.
And I go into a thrift store, and I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Maybe I can get a job here. Surely they won't check my record, right? Surely they won't check my record.
Sure.
And maybe I can get a discount, and I can just kind of work in the public eye in the community, meet some people, pick some clothes up for a discounted price, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I bought a Nike track jacket for $4.99, right?
Right.
And when I was checking out, I asked them if they were hiring. The girl said, yeah, I think so. She said, come back Monday when the manager's here. So this was like on Saturday. So I come back Monday and I talked to the manager, and she said, yeah, they're hiring. She had me fill out an application, but she wouldn't let me leave with it. She said all applications would be filled out on the spot.
Okay.
So I filled it out, right, turned it in. She said, okay, how many hours can you work? I said, full time. She said, okay, how soon can you start? ASAP. She said, I'll call you this afternoon and let you know if you got the job. This was like maybe 11 in the morning.
Right.
1:30, I get the call on my Motorola cell phone.
Yeah.
Right? You got the job. Can you start?
Wow.
Yeah, after 3 weeks of being in prison for 10 years. They never knew. I didn't say it on the application that I've been in prison
Oh my
10
God.
years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the way you have to do it. You shouldn't admit to it. Or else you'll kind of just get fucked out of it, right?
Well, no. They actually say that you should. They say that you don't advertise that you've been in prison, right?
Right.
But that you have to be open about it, right? Because if they find out, if you lie about it, right? So like do you have a felony? Check box, right?
You click yes.
Yeah, I checked yes.
Okay.
Right? But remember, I have 2 felonies. So I didn't tell them about the last felony. I said, yeah, I have a felony. What did that involve? Drugs. 1996. Oh, okay.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's...
Just talking about the old one.
Sometimes they ask you, have you been in prison within the last 2 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Right? Or excuse me, did you catch the charge within the last 2 years?
Right.
I caught my charge was
like
10, 11 years ago, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, the way that it's phrased, it didn't apply. All right, so you got the shop at the thrift store.
Working 40 hours a week, baby.
And, what comes next?
So now I'm in the thrift store working. About a month into the thrift store, a lady walks in and she buys an open sign, right? A neon open sign, right? And
this is amazing.
I'm helping her, and I say, what is that sign for? And she says, I have a business. I said, well, yeah, really? What kind of business you got? She said, I'm opening up a barber shop.
Yes! Yes! He finally gets the break.
So I say, where is it? She said, it's right down the street. And it was literally right down the street. It was probably one light down the street. And she said, it opens up next week. So she says, why, do you cut hair? I said, yeah, matter of fact, I do. And she says, well, come by and come see me. So I said, okay. So about a week passed, and I was driving by, and I seen where the shop was.
Right.
So I pulled in. They were working on it. So I walk in there, and so this was late May, probably 2011. So I've been out since April 5th, 2011.
Oh my God.
And so I pull in there. I walk in. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, hey. We get to talking, and she's like, when can you work? Or can you work? And I said, yeah, I can. I said, but I don't have a license.
Oh.
And she says, that's okay. She says, we'll work...
what part of town is this in, by the way?
This was down south.
Okay, yeah, past Slaughter, or like...
North of Slaughter.
Okay, yeah. Because during that time, like William Cannon and like all those places, I can completely imagine this happening.
So she's like, yeah, that's okay. She's like, just, we'll work it like this. You can come in these times and work. And I said, okay. So I'm working full-time at the thrift store, but on my 2 days off, I come in there and I'm cutting hair. One of my first clients, I got no clients. This guy is walking across the parking lot, white guy with short hair. I said, you know what, this guy looks like he can be a good client. I walk outside, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, hey, what's up? I said, you look like you need a haircut, bro. He's like, I do, man. He's like, why, you cut hair? I'm like, yeah, I work right here. Come by sometime. He's like, yeah, I really need one now, but I don't have any money. If you cut me today, I'll come back and I'll pay you double tomorrow. So I said, let me go in here. I got to ask the boss. So I go in there, I ask the lady. She's like, it's your labor. So I cut his hair, and he was one of my first customers. And then sure enough, the next day he came back and he paid me double.
Wow, and you still see him today?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I lost him somewhere along the line. He was in and out of jail himself. Right? So, anyways, the late May I started working there 2 days a week. Right? So then what happened was I had to finish out a year working that job in a thrift store because I was on parole for a year. So you need to have like documented or employment. Right. So I finished parole. I quit the thrift store. Right. And then I say I'm gonna get my license. So I enrolled in school during that time. Right. So I took 2 weeks off. I went and visited my daughter in Oregon.
Okay.
Right? So I go visit her. Hadn't seen her in 10 years, 11 years at this point.
Oh my God!
Right?
Wow, what a change.
So she's an adolescent at this time, teenager.
Does she recognize you? At first, like when the first time you see her?
Through pictures, because of pictures.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
So I visit her, try to start a relationship with her.
Right.
Come back here, and then my game plan is, okay, look, I'm gonna enroll in school, I'm gonna get my license. I'm still working. Actually, now I wasn't only working 2 days there because I quit the thrift store, so I had to work more days there. So I think I was working like 4 days.
Right.
And so I'm going to school full time so I can get my license. But now I'm also cutting hair, 4 or 5 days or whatever it was.
Sure.
Right? So in the
You are a man looking for redemption here.
So
Yeah.
a couple months into it, there's a pizza shop
Oh my God.
near the salon, right?
Right.
Near the shop. The guy comes out and he's like, "Hey, do you know anybody that may be interested in a pizza delivery job?" I say, "I don't know, man." He says, "You can make a lot of money doing it." But he said, "You kind of strong, right?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, you? Me?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Oh.
you." He's like, "If you're interested, you can make some money."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I can't." I said, "I go to school, I work here." I said, the only days I can do it will be Monday and Tuesdays, 6 to 9 p.m. That's the only time I have free.
Right.
He said, "That's fine."
Oh,
You
shit.
can work Monday, Tuesday,
Oh, man.
6 to 9. Those are our busy hours. And I
Wow.
said, "Okay, all right." So I started working that Monday, Tuesday pizza delivery and used that money to pay child support.
Wow. Dude, I have to say, so far, you have a very great attitude. I'm not surprised that like all of these things are happening to you. In terms of like, I know that you definitely like have your pride and you work very hard.
Yeah.
But in terms of your attitude and the way that you conduct yourself, yeah, I'm not surprised that a lot of these opportunities, you know what I mean? Like when the guy strongly emphasized you, that was the case. So I guess. So you cut hair and you get your license finally.
Yeah.
And when you get your license, you're essentially a free man now.
Yeah.
You can go cut anywhere, you can open your own shop, you can
Yeah.
do anything. So what happens now?
So actually, at that point, I had one of the instructors at the school I was at had picked me up to work with him, and so I moved salons. So the first salon that I started at
Right.
was sold under the table. I didn't even realize. I got to tell you about this. I was working.
Yes.
The lady that I met that owned the salon.
Right. Yeah.
I worked there for 2 years. So 2011, 2013.
Okay.
Right? One day I walk in and there's another couple in there that own the salon, right? I got no idea. And they tell me, they say, "Hey, look, she sold the salon. But you know what? You're a good employee. If you want to continue working, we can work the same arrangement."
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh wow. That's right.
So this is 2013.
Yeah, this was 2013.
Okay, so we're in the city at the same time.
Yeah.
You and I are both in the city. I'm going around selling scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're doing this, and so the salon gets sold.
Salon gets sold. Yep. Couldn't believe it. Walked in, new owners, right? So at that point, so I'm still doing the pizza delivery, right?
Right.
Right? But now the instructor that I had met in the school that I went to offered me a position to go work where he was at.
Right.
So I moved over there.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to work for him 5 days a week, and then pizza delivery 2 days a week. I had my license,
Right.
right? So at this time I'm growing my clientele base, right? So we're looking at, this is 2013, 14,
Right.
right? And in 2015, I left. And then I came to Salons by JC.
So you've been here ever since.
2015, yeah. So September will be 2 years for me here. 2015 and 2017.
Wow, man. When I talked to you over Facebook a little bit,
Yeah.
one of the things that clearly, like now I understand, like, who you are as a person, your type of, the way that, the type of discipline you have and how you motivate yourself. But I think it's incredible that a lot of people who do get out of jail, I think there's a big sense of like hopelessness for them because like trying to fit in after X amount of time.
Yeah.
You took a ticket and you got the fuck out.
Yeah.
But a lot of those people, like you were saying, the way these programs are constructed, it's a really poor system because they just end up, with their inmates all over again.
Yeah.
And what do? Like, it's very hard not to get into trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like it's a recipe that gets, is guaranteed for trouble, but it's very hard not to. We've all been around bad influences in our life, whether it be, criminal or just, someone who is a bad influence. And the one thing that I've always loved about the beauty industry is like how much freedom it's been able to give a lot of people. for example, one of the things that I've seen actually rise quite a bit in the industry is a lot of single moms. So if you're a single mom, I've dated a couple single moms, it's very, very, very hard to find time to be able to manage your whole life.
Yeah.
And not only manage your whole life, especially if you want a better life, right?
Yeah.
So you never really settled for wanting to just cut at that shop forever that was going to sell in 2 years, right? You wanted something better, essentially.
Absolutely.
And you did find it. And so, you know, for single moms, the idea of like being able to go to college at the same time while getting a grant, you know what I mean, while taking care of your family and doing it all, it's extremely difficult, you know, to go that route. And so that's why I've always loved the beauty industry, is because it has, in my opinion, the biggest welcoming arms. Like, for example, in 1980, you know what I mean, when like America was just like Bible belting like out of its mind.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine how scary it would be to be a gay person?
Yeah.
Your family disowns you. You know, like all these bad things happen to you. Yet the beauty industry in that time never wavered. And it just took people in. You know, if you were gay, who cares? You know, just do good work. And everyone was completely accepting of it. So I'm glad that you were able to find your way, man, and that the beauty industry was able to, you know what I mean, like carry you from here to here to here to here. And that it was like that much of a simple transaction where it was like she was buying an open sign from a thrift store, and the next thing you know, yeah, you have this opportunity to cut hair. And, you know, she was like, she found a way to make it work without having a license and all that stuff. I mean, some industries, like, you can't even work at a grocery store, you know what I mean, without a food handling course.
Right.
You know, but like, it's very awesome that she was able to do that. And these were in recent times too. This was 2013.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the very end of it, for everything I guess, what's your new goal for hair? You know, you're in 2017 now, you have a daughter in Portland.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with hair? Or like, what do you want to do with barbering and, you know, the rest of your life?
I mean, I love what I do. I love barbering. You know, I love cutting hair. I love meeting people. I travel a lot. I actually work for a company myself, and so I do education, and you know, I just.
Oh, so you're doing education now?
Yeah, I do education.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you know, for me, I don't have any dreams of like having a barber shop or anything like that, like a brick and mortar. I like working for myself in a small space where I can just be one-on-one with my people.
Oh, I thought you meant brick and mortar as in like there's actually a barbershop in Portland called
Brick and Mortar. Yeah.
Do you know that barbershop?
I actually know that. Yeah, I know that guy.
Mikey Denton.
Yeah, actually we're friends on in social media.
So Mikey Denton is one of my most original clients.
Yeah, good guy. Good guy.
He's a really good guy.
Actually, when I go out to Portland, I get my hair cut from somebody else you may know.
Who?
Sang.
Yeah, Sang. He runs Throne.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So they know you out there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know actually like how like men's grooming got started in the
There's another guy named Corey out there too that you may know.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Corey. Yeah, Corey does hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses my shears as well. Do you know how? Like, do you know what happened in Portland with the modern man? Like,
No, I don't.
So I don't know if you might have been. You might. No, I don't think you were in jail during this time. You might have just got out. So basically, they had a shop out there called the Modern Man, and I remember sitting down with Mikey. We were at a Starbucks, and he was I forgot what band he was in, but he was sort of like at this line where he was just like he could go run off, tour and become a musician, or he could go become a barber. And so he chose to become a barber. But he was also kind of walking the dad path at the same time. He was dating a girl that had a kid. And so I remember going over to the Modern Man, and they were one of the first shops that were doing everything, you know, serving you whiskey, giving you a clean shave, you know, all that stuff that goes with high quality men's grooming.
Yeah.
And in Portland, where everything's, you know, very like artisanal, people love that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Portland's basically made out of, you know, barber shops and Thai food. I mean, think about how many Thai places are out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Seattle's got teriyaki. But if you go, you know, so they had the Modern Man, and then basically their checks started getting shorted. And so eventually there was just like a big implosion. And it's another example of how greed ruins everything. So that's what happened, is that everybody left. And why do you think there's so many barbershops like that are just only people? It's because of that. And so Mikey, I don't know where he went immediately afterwards, but a lot of them went up to, you know, Alberta and that part, and a lot of them went down to Mississippi, and then some of them like stayed in the city.
Yeah.
But it's a really competitive barbering scene out there, and that's how it all began. And then I remember when Mikey opened brick and mortar, because like, he pushes really hard for Hans de Fugu and Baxter, and then he started his own shop, and everyone in that, in that barber shop, I've come to know them really well over the last couple of years.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's very cool to see that like we've all seen each other since the beginning. You know what I mean? Like Mikey Denton got his first pair of shoes from me at Starbucks, and 5 years later, he has his own shop now, and he's doing pretty well for himself. So that's good. So that's cool that you know him out there, dude.
Yeah, Mikey. What's up, Mikey?
Yeah, what's up, Mikey? I'm gonna tag you in this.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that's how the men's grooming. I don't think very many people know that, in terms of like the men's grooming industry actually sort of starting in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, there are bits of it sort of happening in the rest of the country. I mean, New York, you're obviously going to have your barbershops, but like very strongly. Like, I think Portland has the highest per capita.
Strip clubs.
Yeah, strip clubs. They're a strange city. They also have the most microbreweries, like per capita, in the United States. And I mean, fuck, they might even have the most barbershops now. I think they really just like craft things. I don't know what the deal is behind it, but Seattle definitely does. Like, Seattle now has a really rich barbering scene. And as far as like men's grooming, I really think that's, 6 years ago, like up till now, it has been the future of the industry, because you take what's going on in salons, and it's not the same as a barbershop. A barbershop's like community is just so much more tight knit. Yeah. Right? Like the very fact that like I had no idea who you were until I met you today. Yeah. And we both know Mikey. Yeah. Right? Like not only just Mikey, but we both know all these shops in Portland. Yeah. That do the same thing. So I feel really close and really connected with you already.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, shit. I was gonna say, man, if there's anything that you want to plug away, man. Anything you want to say?
Well, you guys can always check me out on Instagram.
Alright, what's your Instagram?
Maltagoya1, Maltagoya 1.
Go to Maltagoya 1 if you live in Texas and get your hair cut by this man. He'll tell you some stories. They're seriously hilarious, and if not, you'll see them on the podcast. But if not, it was a pleasure to meet you, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, brother.
You fucking killed it. That was the best one, dude. That was fucking hilarious. One last story about a prisoner. All right, go.
True story. I had a bunkie, so we shared a bunk bed, and we were bunkies for about probably 2.5 years. And in the time that we got to know each other, I got to learn quite a bit about this guy. And he ran a poker table in prison where he sold, he ran a poker table, he gambled, made a lot of money. He had a prison store where he would you buy commissary and then you sell it for double. Right. So I mean, he had all this stuff going on in prison, right? He was a respected guy in prison, well-known guy, right? We got along great from day one. We worked out together. We talked a lot about lots of things. I was from Grand Rapids, and he was from Flint. Okay, so when about a year before, he was doing 15 years on a carjacking, and he went to prison when he was 18, and he was 32 at this time. Like getting ready to go home is what I'm talking. I'm focusing on the time to get ready to go home. So he's about 1 year out. He finds out that he's going to parole to my city. So we become even closer as I try to tell him what my city was like, at least when I was there. And so he goes home, right? Gets out of prison after 15 years, paroles to some white chick that he met when he was in prison, right? And then he's living with her, right? And respect to this guy was that out of all the people that tell you, Hey, bro, when I get out, I'll holler back at you. This is just prison talk now. Dog, I'll holler back at you, man. When I get out, man, I'll shoot you some money. You know, I'll give you my number, bro. You call me, whatever you need, right? Sure enough, he did. He wrote me a letter, gave me his phone number. Didn't send me any money, but in any case, I called him and talked to him a few times, and he would tell me what was going on out there, and he was doing okay. But he was constantly telling me that he was tempted by so many women out there, although he had this girl that he was living with, right? So I was like, yeah, okay. So one day, I'm sitting on my bunk in prison, and the guy walks by, and he says, "Hey, Danny." I said, "What?" He said, "Did you see your old bunkie in prison? Or did you see your old bunkie on the news?" I said, "No, what happened?" He said, "Watch the news tonight at 6. So I tuned in, and he had got accused of murder, of rape murder. So what happened was, as he went to court,
Oh fuck.
what happened was they said that he had, he was picking up prostitutes, like, I guess like crack holes. And, and then he was like, you know, he screwed one of them in the back of an industrial, you know, parking lot or something. And when she wanted her money, he pulled a knife out on her. And so she jumped out, put her hands up or whatever, jumped out, and she didn't want anything to do with that. So he peeled out, but she seen the license plate. Right? A few days later, he does the same thing with a different chick. And then she puts up a fight. He stabs her. Kills her. Gets rid of the body. And I guess they couldn't figure out who killed her, right? This was like, you know, a couple of days later when they find the body, the police find the body and stuff. And I guess the first prostitute comes forward and says, "You know what? This guy with this license plate did this to me, pulled a knife out on me." So they pulled up the license plate, went and found the guy's car, and then found a dirty condom with DNA on it.
Oh my
hers,
God.
her blood in his car, tied it all together. And I would correspond with him during he was going to trial for this stuff. You know, he was like, "Man, I didn't do it," you know, and you know, that's not my place to, you know, I don't know what you did or you didn't, but one of the craziest stories, that's a true story, that somebody that was that close to slept with and was great friends with in prison.
Wow, you really couldn't stay away from the white women.
And he's doing life in prison now.
Really? In the exact same place?
Different prison, but life in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
God damn, man.
Fucked up.
He should have just enjoyed his freedom.
Fucked up. And at that point,
He had a woman, right?
he was out maybe 9 months or something like that after doing, it was 13, 15 years.
Oh, wow. Man, it's really crazy, like, how you just can fall back in that, like, you know, it could be not almost a year later,
Yeah.
and you fall back in.
But see, some people, and I'm not saying he was, but some people, that's what they call, when you become, what's the word for, institutionalized.
God damn. Well, Danny, you've got what, 4 years now? 5 years?
No, more than that, 7, going on 7. Right?
You've got 7 years?
6 years. It'll be 7 next April.
All right. Well, one more year, you got 2 leap years on your belt. So there's no fucking up for you. God damn, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, man. That's it, brother.
Well, thanks for the story, man. That's a good last one.